At 37,000 feet above Europe, something impossible began happening. The GPS guiding this aircraft suddenly could no longer be trusted. Within minutes, pilots from completely different countries reported nearly identical navigation failures. Whatever was happening, it was spreading far beyond a single aircraft.
Air traffic controllers initially suspected equipment failures, but the reports kept arriving from places separated by hundreds of kilometers across Europe.
Passengers noticed nothing unusual outside their windows, yet invisible signals were quietly misleading some of the world's most trusted navigation systems.
Investigators soon realized these incidents shared one disturbing pattern. The affected aircraft were not connected by airline, weather, or mechanical failure. If aircraft were not failing, then something else had to be interfering with the signals guiding them across European skies every day. Professional pilots train for equipment failures. But this situation felt different because only one system appeared to be telling the wrong story. Authorities quickly understood this was no ordinary technical problem. Someone, or something, appeared to be manipulating GPS across parts of Europe.
To understand this mystery, we first need to understand the invisible system that quietly guides billions of people every single day. Because before discovering who may be disrupting GPS today, we must first understand why the modern world depends on it completely.
Long before anyone noticed these mysterious failures, GPS had already become one of the most trusted systems humanity had ever built.
Every day, billions of invisible GPS calculations quietly help people travel, trade, communicate, and even save lives without anyone stopping to notice.
Modern civilization depends on GPS so completely that most people never question what would happen if those signals suddenly disappeared.
Ironically, GPS was never created to help ordinary people. It was born during one of history's most dangerous military rivalries. Military planners needed something far more reliable than traditional navigation, because mistakes during the Cold War could have unimaginable consequences. The solution seemed almost impossible at the time. Build a network of satellites capable of guiding forces anywhere on Earth.
Those first launches marked the beginning of an ambitious experiment that would eventually reshape transportation, commerce, and global security forever.
At first, only a handful of satellites circled Earth. Their coverage remained limited, their accuracy imperfect, and their future uncertain. Even with its limitations, military commanders quickly realized this technology offered something no previous navigation system had ever achieved consistently. What began as a classified military advantage would eventually become essential to nearly every modern economy. For GPS to work, every satellite must know exactly where it is and exactly what time it is, every second.
Each satellite continuously broadcasts tiny pieces of information. Individually they seem harmless, but together they reveal.
Your receiver listens to several satellites at once, measuring how long each signal needs to arrive before calculating your exact location. The entire calculation depends on one simple assumption. Every signal reaching the receiver is both accurate and genuine. But what if someone quietly transmitted a stronger signal, convincing nearby receivers to believe an entirely different version of reality? The aircraft itself never moved unexpectedly. Only the electronic map began drifting away from the truth, creating a dangerous illusion for pilots. As investigators compared reports, an unsettling pattern emerged. Nearly every incident occurred within surprisingly similar regions of European airspace. Attention soon shifted toward Europe's northeastern skies, where many of the strangest navigation failures appeared to begin. Independent researchers reached a similar conclusion. These incidents were becoming too frequent and too organized to dismiss as coincidence. The evidence pointed toward one unsettling possibility. Europe was experiencing an invisible battle that almost nobody could actually see. By now, aviation authorities could no longer ignore the reports. Too many independent crews were describing remarkably similar navigation anomalies. Every investigation began the same way. Pilots described stable aircraft, clear weather, yet GPS positions that simply made no sense. The evidence revealed something unexpected. The aircraft themselves never drifted from course. Only the satellite navigation data became unreliable. Independent radar systems continued showing aircraft exactly where they should have been. GPS alone appeared to be telling a completely different story.
If radar remained correct while GPS became confused, investigators faced a far more troubling question. Who was changing the signals?
Electronic specialists soon joined the investigation, searching for abnormal radio transmissions hidden beneath ordinary background signals. What they discovered suggested these navigation failures were not random technical faults. Someone appeared to be transmitting powerful competing signals.
The interference never covered the entire continent at once. Instead, It appeared in specific regions before quietly disappearing again.
Different agencies reached similar conclusions independently. These events followed recognizable patterns rather than unpredictable technical failures.
Investigators were finally asking the right question. The mystery was no longer whether GPS was being disrupted, but who was responsible. When investigators plotted every incident on a single map, one detail immediately stood out. The disruptions were gathering in remarkably consistent locations.
Many of the strongest reports came from aircraft flying near the Baltic region, an area already familiar with growing geopolitical tension.
Experienced flight crews were trained for moments like these. They trusted their procedures, not a single electronic display, to keep passengers safe. Controllers confirmed that aircraft remained safely separated. The danger came from confusion, not from airplanes suddenly losing control. Attention shifted toward the radio spectrum itself, where engineers searched for signals powerful enough to overpower GPS transmissions. Their instruments detected interference exactly where GPS operates, providing the first physical evidence that something artificial was disrupting navigation. The more evidence researchers collected, the harder coincidence became to defend. Independent investigations were reaching remarkably similar conclusions. The interference rarely remained constant. It appeared, disappeared, then returned again, making the source even harder to identify. Patterns eventually emerged not only in location, but also in timing. Many disruptions happened during periods of heightened military activity nearby.
Investigators now faced a question far bigger than aviation. Were these incidents accidental interference, or evidence of a new kind of invisible warfare? To understand these disruptions, investigators first needed to answer one crucial question. What exactly does it mean to jam a GPS signal?
GPS satellites transmit incredibly weak signals by the time they reach Earth. Surprisingly, overpowering them requires far less energy than most people imagine. A jammer does not destroy satellites. It simply shouts louder than they do, preventing nearby receivers from hearing the original signal.
When GPS disappears, modern aircraft do not instantly become uncontrollable, but pilots immediately lose one of their most valuable navigation tools.
Aviation was not the only industry paying attention. Ships crossing nearby waters were beginning to report unusual navigation problems as well.
Some vessels reported impossible positions, sometimes appearing to jump across maps without ever changing their actual course through the water. The overlap changed everything. Aircraft and ships were experiencing similar problems in many of the very same locations. The evidence now pointed toward a shared source. Whatever was affecting aircraft appeared capable of disrupting navigation across land, sea, and air. Investigators could finally stop asking whether the interference existed. Their attention shifted toward discovering who possessed both the technology and the motive. The investigation was about to enter far more sensitive territory, where technology, national security, and geopolitics become impossible to separate. By now, investigators understood the interference was real. The next challenge was discovering whether it was accidental, criminal, or military.
Several interference hotspots appeared surprisingly close to regions where electronic warfare training had already become increasingly common in recent years.
Modern armies do not rely only on missiles and tanks. Invisible radio signals have become powerful weapons capable of shaping an entire battlefield. Electronic warfare is designed to confuse, interrupt, or deceive enemy technology before a single physical attack ever begins. During military exercises, GPS interference can be used to protect friendly forces by making precision navigation far more difficult for potential adversaries.
The problem begins when those powerful signals spread beyond military zones and unintentionally affect civilian aircraft, ships, and everyday navigation systems.
Safety investigators noticed civilian routes often passed close enough for unexpected interference to become more than a theoretical possibility. Airline crews regularly prepare for navigation failures because professional aviation assumes that technology can never be trusted without verification.
The conversation gradually shifted from isolated incidents toward a broader concern. Was modern society becoming dangerously dependent on a single invisible system?
What started as an aviation mystery was beginning to expose something much larger, a hidden vulnerability beneath everyday life itself. Then investigators encountered an even stranger possibility. Sometimes GPS was not simply disappearing. Sometimes it appeared to be lying instead.
Unlike jamming, spoofing does not block the signal. It quietly replaces reality with carefully crafted false information that appears completely believable.
Professional crews rarely trust a single navigation source. Cross-checking independent systems remains one of aviation's strongest defenses against deception. Some ship crews reported impossible positions, including vessels that briefly appeared to be traveling across dry land instead of open water. Independent investigations began reaching the same conclusion. Different victims were experiencing remarkably similar electronic deception across the same regions.
Reports arriving from different regions suggested these incidents were not isolated technical accidents. They reflected a much broader electronic environment.
Navigation failures no longer concerned only pilots. Emergency planners began asking how many critical services quietly depended upon GPS every single day.
GPS does far more than provide directions. It quietly synchronizes communication networks, financial systems, emergency services, and parts of the electrical.
Many systems rely less on GPS for location than for timing. Losing accurate time can quietly disrupt technologies people never associate with satellites. The investigation had uncovered something even larger than aviation. GPS had quietly become one of civilization's most fragile foundations.
The growing collection of reports revealed something remarkable. Separate crews, different airlines, and different countries were described.
Modern aviation never depends on GPS alone. Layers of backup procedures exist precisely because engineers always expected technology to fail someday. Replaying the data confirmed the same pattern repeatedly. Radar remained trustworthy, while satellite navigation briefly wandered away from reality. Ground teams reported similar irregularities using professional survey equipment, proving the problem extended well beyond commercial aviation alone.
Investigators could finally state one conclusion with confidence. Europe was experiencing a genuine navigation interference problem, not isolated equipment failures.
The next question proved far more difficult. Was the interference intentional, or merely an unintended consequence of nearby military activity? Challenge begins when civilian traffic operates close to regions where powerful electronic signals are also being transmitted. Whether intentional or incidental, the investigation had uncovered an uncomfortable truth. Modern society. After years of collecting evidence, investigators noticed something impossible to ignore. The same locations kept appearing again and again across independent reports.
These disruptions were rarely random. Many occurred along some of Europe's busiest international flight corridors, where thousands.
Airlines gradually adapted by strengthening monitoring procedures, allowing dispatchers to identify unusual navigation reports almost as soon as crews experienced them.
For many flight crews, these regions became familiar. Preparation replaced surprise, and disciplined procedures became their strongest. Manufacturers also responded. Engineers began improving receivers so future navigation systems could better recognize suspicious or misleading satellite signals.
Instead of relying on stronger signals alone, researchers focused on making receivers intelligent enough to recognize when something simply did not look right.
One lesson quickly became clear. True resilience comes from combining multiple navigation methods rather than trusting any single technology completely.
Meanwhile, satellite operators continued watching the constellation itself. The spacecraft remained healthy, confirming the problem was occurring much closer to Earth.
The satellites never stopped doing their job. Somewhere below them, the signals were being interrupted before reaching the people who depended on them. Halfway through the investigation, one conclusion had become undeniable. The investigators soon discovered that navigation was only part of the story. GPS was quietly keeping much of modern infrastructure synchronized every second.
Cellular networks, financial markets, and power systems often depend on extremely accurate timing, much of it ultimately traced back to GPS satellites.
In financial markets, even tiny timing errors can create serious consequences, making reliable synchronization just as important as reliable communication. Electricity networks also rely on precise timing to monitor and balance enormous systems operating across entire countries at once.
Emergent pair for navigation failure.
Professionals regularly practice operating without GPS because they know every technology, no matter how advanced, can someday become unavailable. Future autonomous systems are being designed to trust several independent sensors instead of depending entirely upon a single source of positioning information. Engineers learned an important lesson long ago. The safest technologies rarely depend upon only one answer, especially when lives may depend upon it. Around the world, researchers are already searching for navigation systems capable of remaining reliable even in electronically contested environments.
The investigation had grown far beyond aviation. It was becoming a story about how modern civilization quietly depends.
By this stage, the incidents were no longer surprising aviation authorities. The priority had shifted from discovery to preparation and long-term resilience. Airlines expanded simulator training, ensuring flight crews could safely continue every journey even when satellite navigation suddenly became unavailable. Attention also turned toward aircraft themselves, with engineers verifying every navigation component before flights entered regions known for occasional interference.
The future would not depend upon stronger GPS alone. Engineers began designing receivers capable of questioning information before accepting it as truth.
Shipping companies reached similar conclusions. Reliable navigation meant combining satellite positioning with radar.
Other industries quietly reviewed their own vulnerabilities, asking how they would continue operating if satellite timing suddenly became unreliable for extended periods. Around Europe, investment accelerated in backup timing technologies designed to reduce dependence on a single global navigation system. The conversation gradually evolved beyond aviation. Experts now viewed navigation resilience as a challenge affected. Most people never noticed these invisible struggles. Yet every ordinary day depended upon extraordinary systems. The investigation had revealed an unexpected truth. GPS was never truly the weak link. Our dependence upon it was. The investigation had changed priorities across Europe. The goal was no longer preventing every disruption, but ensuring society could continue functioning despite them.
True resilience does not come from making technology perfect. It comes from preparing people and systems for the day perfection inevitably fails.
Future navigation systems are increasingly designed to compare information from several independent satellite networks, instead of trusting only one source.
Modern receivers are becoming smarter. Instead of accepting every signal, they learn to question information that behaves differently from normal satellite transmissions.
Tomorrow's aircraft will navigate using several technologies together, reducing the chance that one disrupted signal could mislead an entire flight. Space agencies continue strengthening navigation from orbit, but they also recognize that protection must extend all the way down to Earth itself. Some countries are also exploring complementary ground-based systems, ensuring critical services remain available even when satellite navigation becomes temporarily unreliable.
Artificial intelligence is beginning to recognize suspicious navigation behavior within seconds, offering another powerful layer of protection for future transportation networks. The future belongs to systems that constantly verify one another, because trust alone is no longer considered an adequate engineering strategy.
After following the evidence across Europe, one lesson became impossible to ignore. Invisible technologies shape our lives far more than we ever realize. Every morning, thousands of flights depart across Europe. Most passengers never realize how much trust each journey quietly places in invisible signals from space. Professional pilots never place absolute trust in one display. Safety has always depended upon verification, discipline, and independent confirmation of every critical decision.
Behind every successful flight stands an entire network of professionals whose systems constantly verify one another before trusting any single source of information.
The investigation revealed that GPS is far more than navigation. It quietly connects transportation,
Perhaps the most unsettling discovery was how ordinary everything still looked while invisible interference quietly unfolded around the people below.
Solving this challenge will require cooperation between governments, researchers, manufacturers, airlines, and scientists rather than relying upon any single solution. The next generation of engineers is already designing technologies intended to make future navigation systems more intelligent, resilient. From orbit, the satellites continue their mission exactly as designed. The real challenge exists much closer to the surface of our own planet. What began as a mysterious navigation problem ultimately revealed a much larger story about technology, trust, resilience.
The invisible battle over GPS continues today, reminding us that the world's most essential technologies are often the teenies. For millions of travelers, GPS remains completely invisible. They simply expect every flight to arrive safely. Every ordinary day depends upon thousands of systems working together perfectly. Most succeed so reliably that people rarely stop to appreciate them. Satellites continue transmitting exactly as they always have. Their mission has never changed, even as the world beneath them continues evolving. Strike rates. Around the world, researchers continue improving navigation technology, determined to make future systems more resilient against disruption.
The investigation ends with an unexpected realization. The greatest achievement of GPS is not its complexity, but
treats. We began with a mysterious navigation failure over Europe. We ended by uncovering an invisible network supporting.
Sometimes the world's most important technologies remain completely unnoticed until the moment they stop working.
If you enjoyed investigations like this, there are many more hidden technologies quietly shaping our world that deserve the same careful attention. Subscribe to join us as we continue exploring the untold stories behind the inventions, companies, and technologies that quietly changed history forever.
Instead, the interference over Europe revealed how important GPS has become. But one mystery remains even